So today you're going to be learning all about metabolic flexibility, which is one of my favorite topics, having struggled with things like insulin resistance myself. So before we get started, I'm just going to wait for a couple more people to join on. I can see people joining as we're speaking. So if you can let me know first off, where are you guys from? I'm obviously from the UK, but currently in Morocco with my family. Where is everyone from? Let me know in the chat where you're from. You can hear perfectly. Good, good. I'm so pleased about that. Let me know we're from South Africa, from London, from France. We've got Switzerland, Ontario, Canada, Bognor Regis, all over by the looks of it. Amazing. Okay, perfect. Right, well, let's get started. USA as well. Okay, let's get started on creating metabolic flexibility because I think it's such an important topic. Oh, more people from Canada, I can see. Awesome. Right, so I am going to Southern California, Myrtle Beach. Oh my God, you guys are from such exotic places. Like, I'd like to be there. I'm actually in Morocco, but it's not that hot at the moment. Unfortunately, I think because there's a cold front everywhere in kind of North Africa and Europe. New York, South Wales, everywhere. Okay, right, cool. This is exciting. Right, so let me grab my slides so we don't waste any time on this. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this now. Let's get started on here. Okay. Right, I'm just going to see if I can put up the chat at the same time. So what we're going to do, just let me know that you can see my slides just one last time. As long as you can see this, then we're all good to go. So if you can just drop me a yes if you can see my slides. Let's just check here. Perfect. Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to be taking questions as we go through. If you want to put them in the chat at any point, if you have questions that come up for you, feel free to put them in. I will be stopping every now and then to take questions, but I'll also be doing questions at the end as well. So if you think of things and they come to you and you just want to put them in the chat, that's absolutely fine, because then I can come back at the end if I haven't addressed it as I go through, and we can come back to them. It just saves you kind of hanging on to your question, because things are probably going to come up for you as we're going through all of this. So what you're going to learn today is the key reasons, I'm just moving that's it, why you haven't been losing weight, if indeed you are trying to lose weight, or why you may have hit a plateau. And what I'm going to teach you is how to enhance metabolic flexibility, because this is really the key thing. This allows you to burn fats and carbs on demand. This is what allows you to go on holiday like I am at the moment and indulge a little bit and not come home having put on a ton of weight. So that's really the critical thing, because you can do any kind of diet and you'll get results in the short term, but it's really the long-term thing that we're looking at. And as you'll learn, if you're doing dieting, or you have been doing any dieting, it can actually drop your metabolic rate, which is the really frustrating thing. So if you're someone that's been on a diet, had results, and then stopped dieting, come off, and then gone, oh my God, now I've got all this weight gain coming back, do not worry about it. That's completely normal. We can get you back on track at any point. The other thing I'm going to go through is mindset, because I think this is one of the critical things that people don't think about when they engage in any kind of fitness or nutritional program, is they don't address their mindset. And if you don't change your mindset, you're very unlikely to see results for the long term. So we're going to go through that today as well. Feel free to take as many notes as you want on this. Feel free to screenshot any slides that are helpful to you. You will also get a recording afterwards, but obviously being live is best because you can ask me questions as we go. So what you'll gain out of this when you do the things I'm telling you is you'll get consistently higher energy, and that's partly because your blood sugar controls your weight to a degree, but it also controls your energy quite dramatically. So as soon as we get your blood sugar under better control, you're going to have better mastery of your energy instead of having these highs and lows that many people can get. You'll also get a much leaner and healthier body, which is what everyone wants, and you will develop a more flexible metabolism. And it's that key, that flexibility, that's the thing that's going to give you that ability to indulge every now and again and not have to be 100% on it all of the time, which, let's face it, is really unrealistic for most people. So the reality for most people is that they've got inconsistent energy. So you may find this. Drop me a yes in the chat if you find that energy is one of the things that you struggle with. Many people struggle with this, and they feel really good some days, and then other days they're struggling with energy. They're struggling with things like food cravings, and often you can get this sort of slump in the afternoon, and I'll be explaining why that happens. A lot of people jump to the conclusion as well that they are overweight. I wouldn't always jump to that conclusion. Sometimes it's actually that you're under muscled, and that's really what's affecting your metabolic rate. And so actually when you develop a little bit more muscle mass, what happens is you lean out really nicely and quite quickly. I can see a few of you need sugar fixes and things like that because you've got no energy. So we'll address that as well on this workshop. And really what that does is these two things combined are going to contribute to underperformance, because it doesn't really matter whether you're in a job and you feel like you've got to bring good energy to that, whether you're doing any kind of training for any events that you might be doing, whether you're a mum like me, you're going to need really high energy if you're a mum. If you run your own business, for example, you're going to need consistently high energy. So I find the combination of those two things really means that I have to stay on top of this. And so it's actually the same things that affect your energy and your metabolism pretty significantly. Valerie, you're saying chronic pain is driving you to unhealthy eating to cope. Chronic pain can be very difficult. The problem is that if you're eating unhealthily, that will drive up inflammation in the body, which can actually contribute to making it worse. So hopefully when we're going through this today, you're going to pick up some tips in terms of how you can eat a bit healthier, how you can help with things like mindset, and hopefully also reduce that pain over time, because pain is difficult to deal with. All of these things, if you don't have them under control, they're going to be aging you faster. And that's partly why it's so important that we do address these things, because if you've got chronic under control blood sugar, inflammation in the body, it's going to age you quicker. And things like excess blood sugar, for example, actually breaks down collagen in the body. So you'll find that you're going to develop wrinkles more quickly. You're also going to have more problems with things like connective tissue and joint health as well. So just tell you a bit about me. I know some of you probably know me. I recognize some names on this workshop. And so welcome again to all of you that do know me well. For those of you that maybe are new to me and to my world, I am a functional nutritionist and health and performance coach. I also have a podcast, High Performance Health. And my real mission is to help you become the CEO of your health and really live a vibrant, healthy, and limitless life. I think that so many people are struggling with this. And I struggled myself, had my own journey through health. I was originally practicing as a lawyer. And that's really why it's become my mission after suffering with burnout, to help as many people as I can. And I was, for many years, a lawyer in London. I made partnership when I was 8 months pregnant. I was working ridiculous hours, pretty much surviving on coffee. And the first thing that happened for me, although I was really not super fit, but I was always into fitness and healthy eating, I was diagnosed with PCOS and endometriosis. And that was at a time when I was looking to start a family. And PCOS, if any of you have that is the syndrome rather than just polycystic ovaries. You'll know that is correlated with insulin resistance. And so I was actually prescribed metformin, a diabetic drug, in my 20s. I found it almost impossible to eat with it, and I had very poorly controlled blood sugar. And it was really dramatically affecting my fertility. I started reading lots of different things at that point, still practicing as a lawyer, but looking at how, because I couldn't take the metformin, how I could get that under control naturally. And I had pretty extensive surgery to drill my ovaries, to cut out all the endometriosis. And it was really only after that surgery, actually, when I had my first post-surgical period, that I realized what they were meant to look like. And mine had been looking nothing like that, with just so much pain and clotting and issues controlling my blood sugar. And so that was really when I started to develop this side interest in nutrition, but while still practicing as a lawyer. And then I went on to have 3 children, which is amazing, all naturally, but pretty quickly within the space of 4.5 years. And it probably looked like to everyone else that I had everything, right? Everything I'd wished for. And I did, except that I was really, really struggling with depression. And this took a toll, obviously, massively on my mental health, which then took a toll on my physical health. And that's when I then ended up, the kids got sick. I ended up in hospital with double pneumonia, which was, it was kind of ironic, really, because I was fighting for my life, even though I'd been thinking constantly about ending my life. So I was in this crazy situation now where I was fighting for my life. And it marked a real change in me, because at that moment I was like, right, I've got to get my health back on track. They had rushed me in actually with suspected lung cancer. I was having a CT scan, but it turned out to be double pneumonia, and I was treated for it. And I felt very lucky to get over that and get well. And initially when I came out, I decided, right, I am just going to get myself really, really super healthy. And so I left law and I started studying nutrition, health coaching. I became a personal trainer as well. Went into kind of the whole world of fitness, basically just to try and pull all the pieces together. I wanted to develop as much knowledge as I possibly could. And also epigenetics. Those of you who, maybe some of you on here actually have done my Live Younger program, which is all based around genetics as well. I'm massively into how your DNA affects things. And I was putting all of this together initially for me, and then I started practicing with clients and getting them results as well. So that's really my background. And now this is my full-time kind of mission, is to help other people really be as healthy as they possibly can be. So what I want to show you today, we're not going to go in deep on sleep. We'll be touching on it, but mostly is the nutrition, the fitness, and the mindset that you need to develop to really get your energy back and get your body in the shape that you want it to be in. These are a lot of the chronic diseases that people are struggling with. And these, unfortunately, are contributed to by what we eat a lot of the time. We are eating much more processed food. Our soil has been depleted of many of the nutrients. People are carrying a lot more excess weight than they used to. And really all of these diseases that you see on here, which are so common, and obviously the risk increases with aging, have two core roots: blood sugar dysregulation and inflammation. And when you develop metabolic flexibility, you will be controlling both of those things. So it's going to be really health protective for you. So it's not just that you're going to look good, you're going to feel good, you're actually going to be doing all the right things in terms of optimizing your health at the same time. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, most people think that they need to lose weight. And it may be that you have a lot of excess weight that you need to lose, but it's probably likely, particularly if you're in your 40s or beyond, that actually you are a bit under-muscled as well. And really what you need to develop is this concept of metabolic flexibility, which is what I want to share with you today. Does everyone know, have you heard the term metabolic flexibility? Do you guys know what I mean when I refer to metabolic flexibility? Let me know in the chat, give me a yes or a no if you know what metabolic flexibility is. Yes, okay, we're getting quite a few yeses. Okay, and some no's. Okay, so let's go through that. So it's the ability of your body to burn carbs and fats on demand. So literally, it is the ability of your body to burn carbs and fats on demand. So it's so that you can seamlessly transition from being a carb burner into burning fat. So when you've been fasting for a period of time, you'll be burning more fats. If you've had a high carbohydrate containing meal, you're going to be burning more glucose, and your blood sugar is likely to be elevated. But the thing with metabolic flexibility is children do this effortlessly. And what you'll find is if you're with a young child, sometimes they'll get to the point of hunger where they end up having a meltdown and it's gone too far. But often they'll be happily playing and they're not really even aware that they're that hungry because they're so engaged in what they're doing. And that's because their bodies, and this is how we were all designed, will burn fats pretty easily. The other thing is they often will fast for long periods. So many people I speak to feel like feels unachievable at first to actually think about fasting for 12 to 16 hours of a day. And yet children, again, will do this effortlessly. You'll know if you have young children that you probably feed them at 5 and then they might not eat again until 7 o'clock the next morning. And they've just effortlessly done a 14-hour fast without really even trying. Now, whether you fast for longer periods depends on where you are in life. I think there are seasons in life and it isn't advisable for everyone. A lot of women in their menstruating years, actually longer fasts are inadvisable because it can disrupt hormonal function. So I'm not necessarily an advocate of really long fasts. I think that can cause more stress on the body. And as you'll learn today, that if you do suffer with chronic stress and cortisol is elevated a lot of the time, it's going to be harder for you to lose weight. So we actually want to communicate to your body this sense of calm. Even if you are on a low carb diet, I can see you're asking me, can you still develop metabolic flexibility? Yes, you can, but you should be able to sometimes eat higher carbs and actually transition back into fat burning. So for example, I quite often, and you might see me on social media, use a device known as the Lumen device to track whether I'm in a fat burning mode or a carb burning mode. And if you've got good metabolic flexibility, even if you go and eat a meal that is much higher in carbohydrates, you should be able to get your blood sugar under control and transition back into fat burning pretty quickly if you're metabolically flexible. If you're inflexible, what will happen is you'll see that you're burning glucose and fats, so carbs and fats, much more of the time together. And that can be a lot harder to lose weight, because in that situation, if insulin is higher, it's going to make it very, very difficult for you to burn fat. The device I use at Valois is called a Lumen. I can give you details of that in a second. So when you become more metabolically flexible, you get a lean and athletic physique, and that's where you have better blood sugar stability. Now, even if you're on a low carb diet, if you're chronically stressed, what can happen is that actually you are still burning more carbs, because your body will be dumping more glucose into the blood. Because if cortisol is high, that's naturally what happens. So we become much more of a sugar burner. So part of this process is going to be about understanding how to really engage that parasympathetic nervous system and teach your body to relax more so that you can burn more calories. And it's really interesting, because when you look at some of the scientific studies that have been published on this, and they look at women in particular who are chronically stressed versus women who are not, and look at how many calories they're burning, the women who are more relaxed are burning more calories, even on the same nutritional program, than those who are chronically stressed. So stress actually gets in the way of weight loss. It gets in the way of managing your blood sugar as well. My charger looks like it's just fallen out there. Now, when you're healthy, it's going to enable you to get better at life. So this is the thing. All of this is actually going to help you to enjoy life more, because you're going to have higher energy, which is going to give you better productivity and mental focus. It'll give you back more leisure time, because you're going to be more productive in the things you're doing. You'll have greater confidence, because you're going to feel happier with the way you look when you've got metabolic flexibility, and you'll look younger, you'll feel younger, and essentially you end up aging in reverse. And this has been shown people can actually reverse their biological age pretty quickly, in fact. There's a very recent study with men. It's now being replicated on women, and they took a bunch of men in their 50s and 60s, and within 8 weeks, with the right nutritional and exercise program and stress reduction, not only did they lose weight, not only did they improve their cholesterol and triglyceride markers, but they reversed their biological age by 3.5 years, or 3.23 years, 3.2 years in only 8 weeks, which is pretty dramatic when you think about it. So the good news for you when you're listening to this today is this isn't difficult to do, and it also doesn't take a very long time to do it. I can see a few of you are struggling with stress as well, so we'll be talking about that. So if you've been trying, and you might be thinking, yes, this is me, to eat healthy, to do detoxifications, to work out as much as you can but not get consistency. You may have even been trying things like intermittent fasting or the keto diet, and really feeling like you're doing everything you possibly can to live this healthy life, but the results are not showing up for you. And often, if you're like me, you'll be trying to fit this in around a really busy family life and work. I think we're all much busier now than ever before, particularly post-pandemic, because I think we have a culture of working even harder than we did pre-pandemic, partly because everyone's got used to working from home a bit more, which is fantastic in many respects. It gives you time at home and with your family, but at the same time, it can be quite difficult to down tools and really distinguish between work and home life as well. So if you're not seeing optimal results, you may have been to the doctor. This is probably one of the most frustrating things for people. Often they'll go and speak to their doctor and say, I can't lose weight, my energy is really low, and the doctor runs a whole bunch of bloods and says, well, everything looks normal to me, but you never end up seeing what those results say, which can be very frustrating. And ultimately, they look at very different markers than I would look at from a functional perspective. And so this then often will lead to you going off and searching for answers on your own. And I find this is where people can get very, very lost, because there's so much information out there that it can be really overwhelming. And that's when you can start trying different plans. So it might be that you've tried the ketogenic diet, it might be you tried a low carb diet, You might have tried like something like the 5-2 or really restricting calories, and you may find that you get results for a time, or that your partner gets results but you don't get results, and that's when it can be overwhelming and frustrating. And you can get this sense that you just feel like you're really pushing a rock up a big hill. But you're not broken, and there is a science to optimal metabolism and hormonal balance. So please don't let that concern you if you have been feeling like that. So Valerie has a question. If triglycerides are high and LDL and HDL are normal, before the bad cholesterol was always higher. Valerie, often that can be because what's happening, triglycerides essentially are fats that are contained within the blood, and you can get fats that get stored in the form of triglycerides in the blood and also in adipose tissue. Often, if you're not adequately controlling blood sugar, they can get converted into triglycerides. So that's why you can end up with that. So this will actually really help you in terms of developing that metabolic flexibility. So you're going to learn how to achieve this without going on a restrictive diet. I'm actually very much against going on really restrictive diets because I think that they downregulate your metabolism. And there's a reason for this, particularly if you go very low carb. What can happen is, because your brain actually needs a certain amount of glucose. Yes, you can run on ketones and you can become more fat adapted, but unless you really are very well adapted and you do cycle in and out of ketosis occasionally, what can happen is, on a very low carb diet, is you actually start to draw down on amino acids from the muscles. So you get some muscle breakdown at the same time as fat loss. Now, when that happens, that messes with your metabolism, because muscle is much more metabolically active than body fat. So it actually helps you to burn many more calories. And this is one of the key reasons that people see weight gain after they've gone on some form of restrictive diet, is because they've actually broken down quite a bit of muscle tissue. So I'm going to show you how to do it without having to fast for 16 hours a day, without having to do loads and loads of HIIT workouts or multiple online classes. I don't know if you found this, but this is another thing I see with people, is when they're not getting results, they feel like they've got to do more and more to really try to get better results. And what happens is they start scheduling extra workouts. And actually, the workouts that you do are responsible for about 10% of the calories that you're burning. So we have our basal metabolic rate, which is everything that we need to survive at rest. And then we get calorie burn from different areas. So some of it is exercise, some of it is from the thermic effect of food. So if you really hone your nutrition, you're actually going to burn more calories if you get your macros right. And then the other one is what we call non-exercise active thermogenesis. Now, interestingly, exercise, unless you're someone that's really training for an event, is likely to not make up more than about 10% of your total calorie burn. Whereas non-exercise active thermogenesis, or NEAT, which is what you do all day in terms of like your overall movement, is more important. You can burn 20% of your total calorie expenditure doing that. So that's why I think sometimes people get it wrong, is they think, well, I've got to exercise more. What happens is you end up overstressing the body again. And so as cortisol goes up, you're going to have poorer ability to control your blood sugar, and you're going to end up getting poorer results as well. So we're going to show you how to do that without going on some kind of crazy extreme fitness program and without having to take a ton of supplements. There are supplements that you can take that may enhance these results. There are supplements that you can take that can improve your blood sugar or your insulin sensitivity, but you don't need to take lots of supplements. You should be able to do this without actually taking any. So if you've been wondering why it is that your partner gets results and you don't, or why you can get so far and then you can't shed the last few pounds, or why the moment you stop being good, and I think this is the most frustrating thing for people, now the weight just starts to pile back on, please don't worry, because we're going to go through that. Now, all diets work in the beginning, but the difficulty is that you don't really control the way that your body is spending those calories. There are some key hormones at play that I want you to get to grips with here. So the first one is ghrelin. Ghrelin makes you hungry. It tells you that it's time to eat. And the second one is leptin, which is a satiety hormone. So ghrelin kicks in to tell you it's time to eat. Leptin kicks in to tell you you've had enough and now you're full. Now, what can happen is, if you haven't been controlling blood sugar for a period of time, over time you can develop leptin resistance, which means that you now feel like you're not full and you don't get that same messaging system to tell you you've had enough to eat, which can be very frustrating. You probably feel like you're not eating necessarily that much. Sometimes actually, a lot of people I see, they're eating very minimal amounts, and what we need to do is actually get them to eat more, but we need to reset these hormones back. The other thing that can happen is if you're struggling with sleep, is this can really affect these hormones. So what we see in people who are underslept is that they have higher levels of ghrelin and lower levels of leptin. So they're actually feeling more hungry and less full because they're not sleeping well. So sleep is a big thing to tackle here. Insulin is another hormone that controls your blood sugar. So if your blood sugar is going up, your body's going to release insulin, and that's because it's important, because sugar in the blood is not healthy. It's quite dangerous. It can damage and contribute to arterial damage. So it's really important that we do have insulin that's released to remove that glucose out of the blood. The issue with that is if you've got chronically elevated insulin, you can end up with things like leptin resistance. But also, if you've got chronically elevated insulin, it's going to be much harder to lose weight. And that's because insulin sends a message to your body to store fat. Now, you'll see that in diabetics who take insulin, they find it very hard to actually control their body weight for that reason. The other ones that I want you to be aware of is adrenaline and cortisol. So I've mentioned stress a few times. If you're feeling under pressure all the time, you can end up with raised adrenaline and cortisol, and these stimulate more glucose production and more storage of fat. And cortisol will, in its own right, raise insulin as well. So again, these are going to signal the body to store fat. So if you think about when you're stressed ancestrally, that would have been because there was some kind of threat. And so you needed to have glucose dumped into the blood to power your muscles to either fight or flee or hide or do something. Whereas often what we've got is just chronic stress sitting at our computers, and our blood sugar's going up, insulin comes on, is released to lower it, and that communicates more fat storage. So we have a harder time controlling our body composition. The other thing is, again, if you are constantly trying to do too much, so you're layering in more exercise sessions, you're not sleeping particularly well, cortisol will go up. If you're not sleeping well, insulin goes up naturally. So they've done research and it's shown that if you have a poor night's sleep, so sort of 5 hours or less, that can make you as insulin desensitized as a type 2 diabetic just on one night. So this is why I say to you, it's about really understanding that we need to communicate safety to your body. We need to help you feel calmer. We need to find the right nutritional plan for you with the right amount of fitness and overall movement so that your body now just feels comfortable about letting go of that body fat. Thyroid also has an impact. If you've been sort of yo-yo dieting, you can have depressed thyroid function. You can bring that back up and support thyroid health. And if you've got really good, the right macros in terms of protein, fats and carbs for you, your thyroid is going to function more optimally as well, particularly if you're doing the other things that we're talking about in terms of sleep and rest as well. So thyroid can have an impact is the answer, but we can correct that. Estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, these all have an impact as well. So don't know if any of you on this workshop today are in your 40s and you might be finding that you're getting swings in estrogen and progesterone because you're in what we call perimenopause. Maybe you're in your 50s or beyond and actually you've already gone through menopause and so you've had a significant drop in estrogen. I can see a few of you putting yes. So in that situation, it can feel like you've got a harder time controlling your body composition. But again, don't worry about it because it's just a case of us changing the triggers so that you can have a lean and healthy body. So estrogen in excess can cause weight gain. Not enough estrogen can actually cause your body to catabolize muscle tissue more quickly, or at least not build enough muscle, and then that can be an issue. So again, it just comes back to having the right nutrition and training program for your stage of life to bring these things back into balance so that essentially you still have a lean and healthy body. And just to reassure you, like I pretty much am always around 16% body fat, even though I'm 46 years old. even though I still indulge, have fun with my family. And that's really because I'm doing enough of the right things to create this metabolic flexibility, which is what you're going to be learning. So metabolism consists of anabolism and catabolism. So this is the build-up of substances and the breakdown. If you are too stressed all of the time, you're going to have more catabolic state. So that's going to break down muscle tissue. And from about the age of 30, we tend to break down muscle mass naturally. So we've actually got to provide more of an anabolic stimulus to fight what's happening there, to make sure that we are supporting muscle tissue, which is a very key pillar in longevity, and also preventing things like sarcopenia and falls and things later in life. Now, if you have got hormonal issues that are likely to be disrupting it, what you'll probably find is that you're controlling your calorie intake, but you're not losing weight. You might find that you look at other people and you think, well, they're not even eating nearly, I'm not eating nearly as much as them, and yet they seem a lot slimmer than me. You might find that you're putting on weight around your abdominal area, or you just can't lose the weight around the abdominal area, and it's very much going on there and on your hips. Again, that would be indicative that you're not controlling your blood sugar or your stress levels, or both. If you feel like you've been on and off diets your whole life, or you feel like everything was fine and then you got into perimenopause and now there's the issue. So the calorie fallacy, calories do count. I'm not going to say that calories don't count, because that would be crazy. That's a law of like energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? If you are having more calories coming in than your body can support, you are definitely going to gain weight. I don't think we can take away from that at all. But what I would say is it's not as simple as just going, well, I eat this many calories and I burn this many and that's it, because of these hormones in the body. And so you can't look at somebody else and say, well, they're around the same height and size as me, therefore they must be burning the same amount. Because again, it depends on how quick your metabolism is. Part of that can be genetic. How well you control your blood sugar. Again, part of that can be genetic. How active you are overall, whether you have got very high stress levels, whether you are sleeping well. There are all these other variables that come into account. So unless we fix each of those, you're not really going to get sustainable long-term results. So the better question you want to ask is not how many calories should I be eating, but what determines whether my body is going to burn fat or store fat? What determines whether your body is burning fat or storing fat? Because what we want to do is get your body really comfortable about burning fat. Because when it's comfortable burning fat, you're going to get less things like triglycerides in the blood, adipose tissue, which is body fat being stored, higher cholesterol levels, swings in energy, because your body is going to be better at just burning fat, which is where you want to be. Now, all carbohydrates that you eat get converted to glucose, and that is used to fuel your body and your brain. Your brain is very demanding of glucose. So unless you really transition into using ketones effectively on something like the ketogenic diet, you're going to have a harder time without having some carbs, which is why I say metabolic flexibility is going to be more interesting and more fun for you, but also key. Because the other thing is, if you are in ketosis constantly, that can start to depress things like thyroid function if you're not cycling out of ketosis. So again, you do need to have some carbs to come out of that ketosis. Also, if you're someone who's sensitive to fats, like me, from a genetic perspective, and you're constantly on a ketogenic diet, you can again see things like cholesterol and triglycerides go up. You can also see more weight gain. So it doesn't work for everyone. The other thing is these sorts of diets that are very restrictive can cause problems for women's health and hormones. I've had clients in the past who've come to me when they've been on a ketogenic diet for quite a long period of time and found that they've gone into menopause early. And then actually when we adjust their nutrition, they come out of menopause. So that's why I say doing this sort of restrictive dieting isn't something I would recommend because of what I've seen. But essentially, when you are eating any kind of carbs, you are going to get some insulin released. So one of the key things for you, if you want to be able to become more of a fat burner, is definitely to control the release of insulin in and around bedtime. So I often get asked, does it matter if I'm eating late in the evening before I go to bed? Well, if you're eating a certain number of calories per day and you're not in a calorie surplus, then in theory, it shouldn't matter. The reason it matters is that if insulin is higher at the time you go to bed, you're not going to burn as much fat when you're sleeping. And actually, sleep is very, very metabolically demanding. And so the better that you can transition and keep your last meal 3 hours away from bed, you're going to go into more of a fasted state. That is better for repair work. You're going to get deeper sleep. Your metabolism will thank you for it. And it's going to be more effortless to stay lean and healthy if you do that. So it does matter if we've constantly got chronically high insulin, particularly before bed. The other thing is growth hormone isn't released when you've got insulin, and we want growth hormone at night. It helps us build that muscle mass, which is really important. It helps our skin look better and younger. It helps with collagen production, and it helps renew the lining of our gut as well. So it's really, really important that we try to eat away from bedtime. The other thing is if you are very, very stressed, so you're not taking that time to wind down, you're not going to be sleeping as well, but you're going to have more adrenaline released. And as I mentioned at the start of this, when adrenaline is being released, the body prefers to use glucose as a fuel. And when it's using glucose as a fuel, you're going to have higher levels of insulin. And remember, insulin prevents your body from burning fat. So that's another reason, which is why these variables like sleep and stress are very, very important to having metabolic flexibility and you achieving your ideal body composition. So a key indicator, as I say, that you're not controlling blood sugar would be that you see excess weight around your middle. So if you're seeing that, you probably aren't, or you could be chronically stressed. Now, it's really easy to engage in higher carbohydrate eating without really even thinking about it. So if, for example, you're somebody who eats on the go quite a lot, I'll often have people say to me, oh, I fast in the morning, I don't have anything until lunchtime, but on their way into work, they get a big latte. Even if that's with skimmed milk, that is going to be releasing sugar, it's going to be elevating insulin levels. So, and you're not in a fasted state. If you're having something like this, is very low on protein, and it has more kind of processed forms of protein as well, which is not great, with minimal amounts of sort of lettuce and quite a lot of carbs. So you've got carbs in the apple, which is not necessarily bad. Apples are very, very good for you, but we're combining a lot of carbs here. So we've got carrot sticks, tomatoes, wholemeal bread, apple, and then maybe you're having a drink that contains carbs as well. The problem with that is it's going to lead to a depression in blood sugar after insulin rises. So you're going to get this kind of high and low in the afternoon. It's going to be very difficult to control energy. It's also going to be harder to stay lean, because when you have enough protein, it communicates to your body to build muscle tissue. And that's really, really important. We need to get to a certain threshold for that to happen. So in any one meal, you really want to trigger about 30 grams of protein for that muscle protein synthesis to be triggered. So if you're having small amounts of protein across the day and not really having much until your evening meal, again, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be leaner and healthier. It's also going to be a lot harder for you to control your energy levels as well. So as I say, all carbs are broken down into glucose. Every time we break down carbs, we have insulin released, and that's like a lock and key mechanism. So it's moving the glucose into cells. But our muscles can only store so much, and our liver can only store so much. And really, those are the only two sites for the long-term store of glucose. It gets changed into glycogen, and that's what's stored long-term. After that, it's going to be stored as triglycerides or in the form of adipose tissue, which is body fat. And if your insulin is constantly elevated, as I said before, you're not going to be able to burn fat. So you can see now what's happening is it's very easy year on year for your body to start just putting on a little bit more weight, which is what most people notice. And then they think around this time of year, I really want to lose weight. I want to get shape for summer. You know, I'm taking off my big jumpers now as we come out of winter into spring, and I need to lose weight. And the immediate thought is, I need to go on some form of diet to get in shape. The problem is that's just going to compound this issue, which is why I say you're better off creating metabolic flexibility, which isn't that hard to do, because then you're not going to need to constantly go on diets. You can see if you feel like that fat is creeping in. And don't feel bad about this, because nobody is in perfect shape 12 months of the year. Even people who compete in physique competitions are not in their ultimate shape 12 months of the year. The critical thing is that you're in and around your ideal body composition for most of the year. So that if you just need to bring it a little bit more in line as you're coming up to summer, it's very easy to do. And you've got that metabolic flexibility such that you can do it easily without going on any kind of restrictive diets and really screwing up your metabolism. Now, the whole calorie in, calorie out idea is that if you take in less and you burn more, you're going to lose weight. The difficulty is that your body is intelligent. So if you constantly give it less calories, it's going to learn to cope on less. It's no different than if you were spending money. If you kept spending above your means, over time, you're going to get into debt. And so your brain's going to tell you, this is a crazy idea, we're going to have to reduce spending. Well, your body's the same. So it will start to down-regulate things. It'll down-regulate thyroid function a bit. Your hair may be thinning. You lack that kind of glow that you've got, because essentially it's learning to live on less calories. And when you go on any form of restrictive dieting, you are going to break down muscle at the same time. Now, if you go very, very low carb, that will happen. And the reason for that is that your body needs to generate its own form of glucose. And to do that, it has to use amino acids from the muscle tissue at the same time. So when people go on very low carb diets for any length of time, what we often see is that they will lose some weight, but they will lose about 25% from muscle tissue. So this is going to really mess up your metabolism over time, and it's going to make it harder for you to then come off that and actually get back onto a normal eating regime. So I'm going to go through the top 5 reasons why you're not seeing results, and hopefully these will be relevant to you, but I'm pretty sure that some, if not all of them, you'll identify with. So reason number one would be that you've been restricting major food groups, or you've been using severe calorie restriction, either on a constant basis or on and off for quite some time. So I would say to you, stop doing that, first of all. Now, I know that sounds scary because you're probably thinking, well, as I'm not losing weight, how can I stop that? Because aren't I just going to pile it on? The problem is you're creating the need for the body to slow down. Muscle is very expensive. It's expensive to cool, it's expensive to feed. So your body will break down that muscle tissue. It will hold on to body fat because it thinks, well, actually there's some kind of starvation going on. So we need to make sure that, in my case, Angela's got enough energy, and therefore if we store body fat, she's going to have really good reserves that we can just draw onto. So you need to stop restricting. As I say, your body will hang on to fat and burn tissue instead, which is going to worsen the situation because we know that muscle burns at least 2 to 3 times the calories of fat. And so by breaking down muscle tissue, it's going to interfere with your metabolism. Now, when your body thinks you're starving, it wants more stored energy. That's why it stores body fat, essentially. And it wants less muscle tissue. As I say, muscle is expensive to cool and to carry, both things. Feeding muscle is expensive, carrying muscle is expensive, keeping your body cool when you've got higher muscle is expensive. We want it to be expensive because that means we're going to be burning more calories. So actually, muscle is an organ of longevity. It is one of the keys to developing metabolic flexibility. And there is this theory of fat superaccumulation that's been done in research. Essentially, this is one of the main things that has been researched in terms of once you've done a period of energy restriction, people then relapse into weight gain and into things like obesity. And so the evidence supports this. It's not just you thinking, oh, I went on a diet and now I gained more weight. There is a scientific reason for this. The other thing is what's really difficult is with any kind of diet, it's really boring. So it's going to be very difficult to stay on that long term. And you might find that you then beat yourself up. You really shouldn't do, because most people can't stick on a diet. It is really boring. And you might do it for a period of time. And we're going to go into mindset in a moment. So you might do it for a period of time because you've got this goal of, I need to do it for this holiday, or I need to do it because I'm getting married, or I need to do it for I've got an event, whatever it is that's motivating you to do it. But you can only keep it up for so long. And so what the research shows is that the average person will regain weight, but they'll gain fat. They'll regain 11 pounds of fat. And the reason for that is most people, when they give up a diet, don't just suddenly go, oh, I'm just going to put on loads of muscle now and get really, really fit. They've relapsed. And so what's going on is body fat, particularly as their metabolism has been down-regulated. So with metabolic flexibility, you can lose weight in various different ways. You can do dietary restriction, you can do time restricted eating, but you're not going to be able to keep those up for any length of time. You can restrict macronutrients. So for example, you can go on the ketogenic diet where you're really, really restricting your carbohydrates. But again, it's going to be very difficult to keep up. So what you want to do is really to focus on these last three. You want really good detoxification pathways, which is going to involve eating some fiber. Another reason, particularly with women with detoxifying excess estrogen, I'm not a huge fan of the ketogenic diet. You want to keep inflammation low and you want to control your blood sugar. Now, when those three pathways are working really well, your body's going to be happy about storing up fat. The reason the detoxification pathways are so important, and by this I don't mean going on like a week or 2 week detox, I mean generally enhancing the body's ability to detox on a daily basis, is that your body will store toxins in body fat. And it does that really to keep them away from the essential organs. So it would be dangerous for toxins to be in and around the organs. And so the best place is for your body to just go, I'll put that into body fat. Then it's out of the way. So when you are releasing excess body fat, you're going to get some toxins come in. Again, we just need to make sure those pathways are working really well so your body isn't stingy about giving up body fat and it's just quite happy to release them. The things that you want to do to encourage is you do want sufficient muscle mass. That's key. You want to deplete muscle glycogen regularly. So this is, remember I said to you that you're going to store carbohydrates long-term in your muscle tissue and your liver. You want to deplete that regularly so that your body's going through this cycle of bringing glycogen down from the muscles. You do some exercise or you have a period of fasting, even if that's just an overnight fast. Glycogen's low, now you can refuel. That gives you more flexibility in terms of the carbs you can eat. You want to have plenty of fibrous carbs. That's going to help good gut motility. It's going to help with those detoxification pathways. It's going to help with satiety, so you actually feel more full as well. So that's important as well. You want to be combining protein and fats together in your food. So if you're having some carbohydrate, have it with some protein. I would try to stop eating carbs unopposed. Reason is you'll burn them quite quickly. They'll elevate insulin more. And you'll get hungry again more quickly and you're more likely to see fat storage. You also want to be managing stress, which I think I've spoken about a lot. And then the other thing is just having a degree of cold exposure is going to be beneficial to you. A lot of the time we are too hot all of the time, and this does pretty dramatically affect our ability to burn fat. So muscle burns fat. We want to be using something called progressive overload. So unless we are progressively overloading the muscles, we're not going to see results. There is something called the SAID principle, which is why you probably feel like when you're doing the same thing again and again, you don't get results. And that's because it's true, you won't see results because this is specific adaptation to imposed demands. And essentially, this is because your body's intelligent. It wants to learn to do things quickly. And then it doesn't have to think about them. Just like if you drive a car, at first what seemed hard is now really easy. I guarantee if you drive a manual car, you're not thinking about the bite point between the clutch and the accelerator. It's all just happening very naturally. You've probably got the radio on, you're probably chatting to someone else in the car at the same time, and not really having to think very much about it. And the body is the same. So we do need to stop this SAID principle occurring. And to do that, one of the key mechanisms is progressive overload. And so in all of the programs that I run, we make sure that we're doing that. And we get you to track things so that we can see that you are moving on and getting results. It's one of the keys. As I say, you do want to deplete muscle glycogen regularly. Working out is a great way to do that. Doing some form of intermittent fasting is a great way to do that. Doing some cyclical ketosis. So for example, you might have a more fat-based foods and protein and things during the day, and then you have some carbohydrates in the evening, which will help you sleep better. And coming in and out, cycling ketosis, if you're someone who feels better on a higher fat diet, can be key as well. The next one is you keep forcing yourself to do more. Gabriella, what is unopposed carbs? Unopposed carbs will be where you just have carbs on their own. So for example, like if you ate a banana, even though there's fiber in it, some people, their blood sugar will go bananas when they eat bananas. Some people it won't. So that's very genetic. But, and it also depends on how metabolically flexible you are. But the likelihood is it's not going to fill you up for very long because your body's going to burn through that quite quickly. Whereas if I said to you, for example, have a lower glycemic fruit, like some berries, for example, or an apple, and have it with some nut butter, you're going to get a much more moderated release of blood glucose, which means you're going to have energy for longer, but you're also going to feel better, and you're less likely to store body fat because you're not getting that big surge of insulin, which we know causes more fat storage. Got it? Okay, perfect. Pleasure. So reason number 2 is you keep forcing yourself to do more. This is the stress cycle that people can fall into. So a really, really common one. And you feel like, I'm not losing weight, so now I just need to layer on more workouts. I'm not doing enough. This is the common thing I see, particularly among women. Often, actually, it's about doing less. Sometimes you'll find that the less you do, your body will then just release the weight if you keep pushing. So you'll know you're doing this if you're somebody that, for example, feels like you can't get going unless you've gone down a HIIT workout, or you keep having to dose up on caffeine to kind of get through. So you want to stop doing that much, because again, you're going to be elevating cortisol quite high. And as you've learned from this workshop so far, that's going to be messing around with your blood sugar. That's going to be leading to more insulin. So this is important. This is common what I see in runners, actually, because they sort of, no one ever gets the best physique that they want from running, but it's a really common thing for people to take up when they want to lose weight. So they think, I'm going to go and start running. I would caution against that. You're going to get far superior results with shorter exercise sessions that deliberately trigger muscle protein synthesis than you are for something like running. And the reason is because a lot of people, when you go out effectively jogging, you're going to raise cortisol, but you're not creating what we call polarity in your training. So to create polarity, you want to be doing a lot of parasympathetic activity. That would be things like walking, where you can easily hold a conversation. And then you want to do some short amounts of stuff that's quite intense. This sort of middle zone is what we can call sometimes, it's important aerobically for some people, depending on the training, but often it's what we call black hole training, and it's elevating cortisol. It's not giving you the results. And you're kind of in this no man's land where you're not really getting the body composition benefits you want, and you're actually actively doing things that's preventing you getting those benefits. So the good news is, if you were to work with me at all, I'm not going to be telling you to go out and start running, because I've not seen this work with people. And actually, I tested it on myself about 18 months ago, just to see what would happen if I gave up the kind of workouts that I do, and just see what would happen to my physique if I did running. And sure enough, I lost a bit of muscle mass and I put on some body fat. And it's, as I say, it's what I commonly see with people. So if you don't like running, that's good news for you. But high cortisol drives weight gain. I think you've probably got the gist of that now from this workshop, especially in the abdominal area. So if you're someone that's got a lot of belly fat, we know that we need to manage cortisol. And that might not be because you're really stressed. It might not be that you feel actively stressed. It might be that it's because you're just layering in too many workouts, and that's causing a lot of stress. It could be that you go out running every day. So it could be any one of these things, but we need to get to the root cause of that and address that so that your body isn't stingy about giving up fat. Stress can also disrupt thyroid function. It can slow down metabolism. Again, this is all because ancestrally, this would have indicated that we needed to hold on to body fat. So it's not your body trying to be mean. It's actually trying to protect you. So be grateful that it's intelligent enough to do that. However, it does unfortunately have these results. And the classic things you'll get is that abdominal fat and what we call the back veranda. So much more noticeable on women, but you tend to store it up here around, you'll feel like you've got it hanging over your bra, for example, when you do your bra up. So this is a really common. Denise, I can see you've learned this, more isn't better. Denise, definitely listen to Denise, because Denise got amazing results on one of my programs, and doing less is definitely the way forward, because you'll get a lot leaner more quickly. So thank you for that, Denise. So yes, less is more. This really is a message to you to stop pushing, because it doesn't get results. And as I say, this chronic cortisol is going to drive up your blood sugar, which can lead to then insulin resistance, and that in turn can lead to leptin resistance. Like you saw at the beginning, now you don't even know that you're full, or you're not getting those satiety signals. So it's this vicious circle that gets created. The next one is you start skimping on sleep to get more done. A lot of people do this. They get out of bed really early in the morning to go and work out. This again is a really bad strategy, particularly in perimenopause. You actually need to sleep. you want to be aiming for at least 7 hours. I'd give yourself that 7 hour sleep opportunity, somewhere between 7 and 8 hours. Some people I see genetically have less sleep need. A lot of people actually do need that sleep. So I would definitely not advise skimping on sleep to get more done. That's not a good idea. We can see, and I realize there's more going on than just this, but this is a screenshot from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, which is a great book. His data shows that, you know, as we've got less sleep, which you can see here, people's weight has been going up. Now, we have obviously been eating more fast food and things as well. So it's only part of the picture, but it is an important part of the picture. So sleep is very metabolically demanding. In fact, when they keep someone up for the whole night, so this is 24 hours where they don't sleep at all, they burn about another 140 calories. So not very much is the answer. And remember, I was saying to you in the beginning that when we take two people that are on a diet, particularly women, one of them is really, really stressed and the other one isn't stressed. The one that isn't stressed is going to burn about that many more calories than the person who is. So you can see that now relaxing and sleeping well could contribute like 280 more calories. So it really is often about doing less. Really genuinely is. I can see some things coming in. Do I work with 14 stone 65-year-olds? Yes, I work with people of all ages. Megan, Julia, you're 56 and you're 58 kilos. 58 kilos doesn't sound a lot. It really comes down to your height. So that could be very good. It's really difficult for me to judge people's weights without knowing what height they are, but that sounds like you could be managing things pretty well depending on how tall you are. 1.63 meters. Okay, so again, that would then we'd look at your muscle mass. So what I would say to you is don't fixate on weight. Look at what your muscle mass is, because really that's what's going to protect your longevity and enhance your metabolism. And so if you're feeling like you're in the right size, your right body shape, and you've got good muscle mass, that will be very, very protective. You're feeling you haven't got energy and lack of sleep. Yeah, so that's common. A lot of people struggle, I think, with sleep. It's something that in all of my programs we look at, because sleep really is the foundation, I believe, of health. Just having a look, you've got a healthy diet, but you get greens, nuts, and brown rice. You were diagnosed with diverticulosis. Okay, so hopefully that is helping to lower inflammation now and get that under control, because that can be extremely painful. Having too much fun and not enough rest time, can this cause a cortisol rise, Abby? If you're really having fun and you're relaxed and happy, your mental disposition is going to be very protective over your stress levels. However, if you're not giving your body enough time to do its repair work and you're not getting good sleep, then that definitely can be causing cortisol to go up. If, for example, having too much fun involves eating out and drinking lots, then obviously, yeah, that would be causing stress as well. So it can. But what I would say to you is a really good mental positive attitude is very protective of health. Which exercise triggers muscle synthesis? Generally speaking, it's progressively overloading the muscle. So doing some form of resistance training alongside other cardiovascular work, Vashni, which we'll come on to. So sleep is very important. I do want you to take that away from this workshop. It helps to balance your hormones. It helps specifically to balance leptin and ghrelin. Also helps with growth hormones. You're going to look younger. You're going to have a faster metabolism. You're going to have better muscle mass. So sleep is really, really, really key. It also helps to lower inflammation. You're going to have poorer blood sugar control and higher level of inflammation and higher cortisol if you're not sleeping well. So it's really, really important. And it repairs your DNA. It's very protective of things like cancer as well. As I say, if you are lacking in sleep, it slows your metabolism down and that affects your hunger hormones. So it's unfortunate, because what can happen is you feel less full, so less satiated when you're eating. You feel more hungry, so you're inclined to eat more, but it's also slowing your metabolism down. So having poor sleep is a big block to losing weight. And then, as I say, you don't burn many more calories. And it can make you as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic. So it's really, really key to get good sleep. When you optimize sleep, you're going to have better hormonal balance, but you're also going to have better mental focus and cognition as well. You'll get better energy. Insulin and cortisol is going to be much more evenly balanced. So is leptin and ghrelin. So now you're going to feel more relaxed. You're going to manage your blood sugar better, and you're going to have good levels of hunger and satiety as well. So I agree with Matthew Walker. I think it is the greatest legal performance enhancing drug that most people are probably neglecting. I think too many of us are skimping on sleep. Something I definitely did as a lawyer. So the weight gain and highs, you need to understand, are hormonally driven to a large part. If you can manage your insulin and your cortisol, and you've got those detox pathways working well and inflammation low, you're going to release weight a lot better. And then it becomes a lot more effortless to get lean basically and stay lean. The other one is you're probably avoiding cold. We are a bit too warm, to be honest. Now, your mitochondria, if you've heard of mitochondria, has anyone heard of mitochondria here? Because this is the energy powerhouses of your cells. The energy powerhouses of your cells, and you need to have a good kind of aerobic base for more mitochondria. And when I say aerobic base, I actually mean what we would call zone 2 training. So this is walking. This is just overall movement, going for a walk with a friend, listening to a podcast. This is amazing for the health of your mitochondria and for burning fat. But also, if you are getting more cold exposure, you're going to have better mitochondria and better fat burning as well. So for those of you that can't stand a cold shower, you might change your mind after this. But not all fat is created equal. So the fat that, if you've got fat on your body that you don't like, it is likely to be white fat, okay? Rather than brown fat. Brown fat is very rich in mitochondria. When we see those like little chub on babies that I love, that is brown fat. They have way more brown fat. And if you have more brown fat, you can tap into that and utilize it for energy really easily. You can see here from this slide, this is brown fat, how many mitochondria it has compared to white fat. So white fat is going to make you feel sluggish and lethargic and slow. Brown fat is better for your metabolism and it's going to give you more energy. So we really want to encourage brown fat to enhance this metabolic flexibility as well. Cold showering's also been shown to reduce your stress levels. Now, if you're thinking, I can't get in a shower cold, I just can't do this, you could just start with turning it for like 10 seconds at the end of your shower, just doing a cold rinse. Your hair will look shiny. You'll have the benefit of that. It's really good for hair as well. But essentially, over time, you get a process known as hardening, which will improve your exposure and your ability to do it. So I would just take it really slowly and do it. It wakes you up. It's a great way to wake up in the morning. It's been shown to boost your mood. It also enhances the vagus nerve. So where we were talking about stress, and I was saying to you, we need to get more parasympathetic activity, more calm and rest and digest. Cold showering does that because as soon as you get cold here on the back of your neck, it enhances vagal nerve tone. And if you've got a good vagus nerve activation, you're going to feel more relaxed as well. So this is actually really, really important. It also increases your willpower. So you're going to be strengthening your willpower in other areas. So I would encourage you to get a little bit of cold exposure if you can. I'm seeing. Are you up to 4 minutes, are you, Denise? That's amazing. That's amazing. So you can build up. See, there you go. Denise is doing amazing. That's awesome. Well done, you. Build up slowly. And I think Denise would say that, right? Build up slowly. Start with 10 seconds. You can actually start by alternating like hot and cold as well. That actually is really good for blood vessel health, and it will just make it easier for you to do because you know that it's like a really timed dose of exposure, but it's really, really good. Denise is saying she had to build up, and it will help you stay lean as well. So it's really, really important. As I say, it helps with brown fat. Now, the last reason is your mindset. I promised you that we'd do some mindset stuff. So this is really, really key. And you need to grasp this because you're never going to get results in anything you do for the long term if you don't get this last pillar, right? So there is this theory of psycho-cybernetics. Hang on, before we get into mindset, Gabriella, you've got a question. What about when you're cycle syncing? Are cold showers okay for all phases? Gabriella, that's a really good question. If you're cycle syncing, there isn't really a reason why you wouldn't cold shower because it isn't causing like elevated levels of cortisol over the long term. Obviously, you might feel like you've got a little bit of grit to be able to get yourself to do it, but it's not the same as, say, going and doing a really high intense workout at the end of your luteal phase when you don't want to be elevating cortisol. If you find it really, really hard to do and you're doing it for elongated periods, then I would dial it back a bit. But if, for example, you're just having like a minute or two cold in the shower in the morning or a few minutes, I don't think that's really going to necessarily interfere too much, because it's actually enhancing that vagus nerve activation. So it kind of depends a little bit in terms of your own approach and how you feel about it. The key thing is at the end of that luteal phase is that you're not overstressing the body too much with things. And so what I would say is, you don't want to be at that stage going, right, I'm doing 5 minutes of cold shower, I'm doing a 16 to 20 hour fast, I'm doing a HIIT workout, all these things. Like, you don't want to stack all these things up at that point. But if it's something that you're used to doing and you finish on cold every morning, or you have a cold and you feel better, that's actually enhancing vagus nerve tone. I don't think it would be interfering too much. So psychocybernetics, this is, we are cybernetic beings. Okay, so we have a mental set point of what we think we can achieve. And this is a really, really important concept to gather. This was really developed, this theory, by a psychologist and plastic surgeon known as Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He wrote the book Psychocybernetics, really interesting read, all about how we can't transcend what our set point is and where we feel we are in our mind without changing our mindset, essentially. So he was doing plastic surgery on people who may have had quite significant disfigurement, or they had things they wanted to fix about themselves, and he would find that when he'd done the work, some of them would change. It was like their whole personality changed and they seemed so much better, and then others of them would not. And what he found was that individuals have this set point, and your body will try to, and your mind will take you back to that set point. So this is a common reason why you might feel like you do really, 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 really well, and you get results, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're self-sabotaging and you don't know why. And it feels very subconscious, but there's something that's inhibiting you from getting those long-term results. And it's very likely down to this. So we have to work on self-image as part of any program for you to be able to get past this. So if you think of like a thermostat in the room, if it's set to say 70 degrees and it starts to get cold outside, the temperature is going to go up. If it starts to get hot outside and you've got aircon, we don't really have a lot of aircon in the UK, but assuming we do, then the aircon will come in and bring the temperature back down to that point. Your mind is the same. So it will try to bring you back to where you were, which is why it can be so difficult if you're trying to lose weight and really get in the best shape of your life, but you've been on and off diets all your life. You feel like that's where you end up. It's because of this. And this is down to your subconscious programming. So we have to address this as part of any program, otherwise you won't get those long-term results. So this is the kind of way it will just show up for you. It will be like, oh, you've done really, really well. It's fine if you have this. And sometimes actually it's your friends that are saying this stuff to you. So, you know, they're like, oh, come on, let's just have another glass of wine, or let's just have dessert. And that's fine occasionally. But it's if you're doing it all the time, you can then veer off course quite quickly. So you might get these kind of things that pop up for you, and that would be showing you. So I would say notice your excuses. Do not beat yourself up. It actually is going to make it worse. So the more that you then say to yourself, I am not going to do this, your brain doesn't hear that. It just hears, do this. And so you're actually going to go and seek it out even more. That's why it doesn't work when you try to put something in the negative. You need to actively seek out results that you want, as opposed to, and crowd out the things you don't want, rather than trying to restrict yourself. It just won't work long term. Now, this is your internal paradigm. It's been programmed most likely under the age of 6 or 7, before you even knew about it. It will have been worked on by your peer group at school, by your teachers, people you've met along the way, and you've just developed this self-image. And that can be one of the hardest things to get past, which is why when you're part of any program, you definitely want somebody to help you get past this. And this is really just the power of the subconscious mind. So 95% is subconscious, you've got 5% conscious. So if you think really you haven't got that much control over what you're doing, we've got to reprogram this bit for you to get results. And it comes back to that analogy I was giving you with the car. What was once hard and you had to really concentrate on now just got delegated to the subconscious, and you can drive the car, listen to music, chat to a friend all at the same time, and not even really know you're doing it. So Abby, you've got to go. Yes, this should hopefully be recording, so we will circulate it later. So 5% is in your conscious mind. So this is really important. So we need to be able to basically reprogram what's going on here for you to get results. And the only way you can do this is by reprogramming from your conscious mind. So you've got to change your self-image. If you don't change your self-image, you're not going to see any change in your long-term results. So it's really, really important. And what's got you here is never going to get you there. So we need to set the goal of where you want to go to, and then we need to bring this bit on board to go with you. Now, lots of people have it the wrong way around because they think that when I have this, I'm going to do these things and then I'm going to be that person. So when I've lost the weight, I'm going to do much more exercise, I'm going to eat way healthier, and then I'm going to be really lean and healthy. It doesn't work that way around. It's like you've got to become that person before you see the results. And that's one of the hardest things. And bear in mind that your paradigm will fight you along the way. So as you start to see results, it'll try and take you back because of this psycho-cybernetics. It'll try and bring you back because it's comfortable. Now, it may not be ideal, but it's familiar. So we've got to get you comfortable with the uncomfortable for you to create long-term results, because otherwise your brain's always going to take you to what's familiar because it feels safe. And at the end of the day, it's designed to keep you safe. Whereas in reality, what you've got to do is be that person, that lean and healthy individual in your mind first, then start doing the behaviors, and then it's going to show up in life. You're going to then have everything that you want. And so everything, right down to the chair that you're sitting on today, was created first in the mind before you were able to sit in it, in someone else's mind. So we have to use our imagination to think, who do I really, really want to be in this scenario? Do I want to carry on living my life like I am? Or do I want to get these amazing long-term results? Because everything I want is on the other side of it. Then who do I have to become? What behaviors am I going to engage in? And then I can have it. And it might feel a bit scary. And that's why often when you're doing it in a group with people, when you've got a coach working with you, you're going to have much more sustainable long-term results because they're going to help you and take you on that journey and be supportive of you. So reprogramming it is really important. You want to think, what do I really want first of all? And this is where people will say to me, they go, well, Angela, I'd like to lose a stone, but I haven't been that weight since before I had my third child, so I'd be happy with X. I don't want you to just be happy with X because you're not really happy with it. I want you to go for what the ultimate is, because it's really, really important. Okay, you get one shot at this life. You want to go for everything that you want. So the first thing is to use your imagination. And then when you decide what it is you want, you need to start visualizing the person that you need to become to get those results. It's so, so important. Then you start thinking, what behaviors does this person exhibit? What do they do? And you start reprogramming your mind as to what you do. There's a very important bit at the back of the brain called the reticular activation system that controls everything you see in your world and what's relevant to you. And if we start reprogramming it, it's going to show you different things. So it's really key. So then you start thinking, what habits must I create? And so you start thinking, you enter into the feeling of that person that you're going to be. Then you start showing up and now you'll become that person. And that is a much more rock solid way of you achieving these long-term results. Because I could show you all the science as to why you need to sleep better, why you need to manage your stress, why you need to eat more protein, why you need to exercise in a certain way, and all these things. But if you haven't got this bit right, you're still going to get taken back to where you were originally, because every time you go, it's going to feel like you're going off course. So your mind's going to take you back. When you do this, success is inevitable. When you do this, success is inevitable. So your reticular activation system, it's a bit at the back of the brain. It filters your world. You can't take everything in. Even on this workshop, you can't listen to absolutely everything I've said. So your RAS is going to be like the gatekeeper, the bouncer, and it's going to filter in and give you things that it thinks you want to know. So because you can't take everything in. So it filters what comes into your conscious mind. You'll know about it working because whenever you buy a new car, all of a sudden you see that car on the road. Whereas before it was like you didn't know anyone had that car really. You hadn't noticed it because now your RAS decided it's important. So it normally blocks about 99% of what's around you from reaching your conscious mind. Now there's only 4 things that get past your RAS. Okay, there are literally only 4 things. The first one is your name. If I call out your name, you'll wake up. You'll listen because that's important. Anything that threatens your safety, you're going to, because your survival depends on it. Signals that your partner's interested in a bit of nookie. Most people wake up to that. So that's the third one. And then the other one is this filter of whatever your RAS thinks is important to you. So we have to reprogram what it thinks is important so that you start to see your world starts to change and it starts to show you different things. It starts to show you more opportunities to be healthier, to hang out with people who are doing the same thing, to eat better food. It'll show you different things when you go grocery shopping, because now it's being primed that you're a healthy person, so it's going to show you less snacks. This makes the whole craving thing so much easier when you've reprogrammed your brain in this way. So it's really important to train your reticular activation system. Train it to filter what's important to you. Then you're going to teach your mind to find the things that you want to see, things that are supportive of you, and that elevate you and make you feel happy, and things that basically help you to achieve your dreams. This is what is so important. So you definitely have to catch negative thoughts. Please don't. These thoughts should be a big red flag to you. I'll never look like that. It's never worked for me. Or it works so-and-so, but not for me. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. That's such a common one. Please catch these in the moment and reprogram them. Generally, what you need to do is reprogram them with the polar opposite. Because as you repeat those negative beliefs, what happens is your brain's like Google. It starts showing you more of the same. It starts showing you things in your world that are going to confirm those beliefs, which is not what we want, because we want to program this new, leaner, healthier, more energized version of you. And only you can do this. It's so important. So your mind is basically waiting to tell you how it can help you. And that's what we want to teach it to do. But you are the catalogue of all your past flaws, mistakes, and problems, and they're really what keep you stuck. Valerie, what you're saying, how am I going to get this weight off? It's so much. Exactly, that's exactly the same kind of thing that we're talking about here. You know, if you're thinking that, your frame of reference is going to be like, I don't know if I can do it. Whereas what we want to do is, of course you can. Of course you can do this. Like anyone can do this with the right strategy. Then you just have to bring your mind on that journey with you. And as you've learned today, there's a science to developing metabolic flexibility. So we know that it's possible. We know that you can do it. We just need to get your mind on track so that you do it. So we want to change what's important to you, and this is part of the reprogramming, so that we change the way you see yourself. You see yourself as this fit, vibrant, healthy, energetic being. That's what's so important, and you stop repeating the old stories about yourself. It's really, really important that you program that. And be your own best friend. I can't tell you how important that is. Please be your own best friend. If you take one thing away from this workshop today, over and above any of the science and everything else, is really be your own best friend. Start talking to yourself like a high performer would do. If you can see a negative belief and you think it has power over you, you've already acknowledged your internal power. So now you can flip that and become powerful to create the reality that you want. That's the thing. You can flip it and become more positive. Okay, so just look at what you're saying in the mirror. Look at the kind of things you do, like the body touching that people do. You know, they sit down, they go, oh, I feel fat, I feel bloated, I feel like this. Watch everything you say, because your subconscious mind, that bit I showed you, the top and the bottom, this bottom bit is listening all the time, and it's just going to keep showing you what it thinks you want. It doesn't care. Just like when you plant in a garden, if you plant really good positive seeds, you're going to have beautiful flowers in that garden. But if you plant weeds, the universe doesn't care. It's going to grow weeds just the same as the flowers, and your brain is no different. So please don't plant the weeds, really plant the flowers, because your whole life is going to change if you do that. So what I'm going to show you now is, you might be thinking, well, how do I put all of this together? I'm going to show you a program that I have that does all of this for you. So we do the mindset, we do the fitness, we do the nutrition, so that you can develop metabolic flexibility. So I'm going to show you now how you can do it, and you can then basically achieve this year round. There's no good reason why you can't. You have to come out of the winter and think, oh my God, I've got to go on a diet. You shouldn't need to think that at all, because when we get you metabolically flexible, you are going to be in and around your ideal weight 12 months of the year. So if you're thinking, how can you put this together? I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it. And this is with a program that I run called Fearless Fat Loss. It's called Fearless because we have to get your mind on track for you to be able to do this. Okay, so it's about conquering both your mind and your body. It's a transformation challenge. So you get to do it with a bunch of people. We do make it a bit competitive just to make it fun. But the first thing we do is to give you a 6-week fitness program. 6 weeks is enough time for you to get some really, really fantastic results. We deliver the fitness program through an app with full video instruction. You decide, you tell us whether you want to do this in the gym, whether you want to do it more of a home-based workout, what access to equipment you have. So if you decide to enroll in this program, the first thing you're going to get is a questionnaire asking you to give us all the information, any kind of injuries you have, where you're going to be working out, so we can build this around you, basically. So it's not a kind of cookie cutter program by any stretch. You'll get daily reminders to keep you on track. You'll tell us, for example, I can do 3 days a week, I can do 4 days a week. The key thing is that we make sure you're progressing over the course of 6 weeks. And these programs are created by my personal trainer, James, who designs them for you based around what we see on your questionnaires in terms of the feedback. So if you're someone that's new to it, that's fine, because you're going to be on a more beginner program. If you're someone who's been working out loads, you're going to be more on an intermediate or advanced program. So it'll come in at your level and how much you want to work out. My client Sam, she lost 5 kilos in 6 weeks. So as I say, it's a good amount of time for you to really lose a meaningful amount and really get in shape by the end of May in time for summer. If you feel like you've had a plateau, you've maybe seen a personal trainer, you're not getting results, this can really help you to just use this mechanism of progressive overload to switch things up and get that peak performance that you're looking for. The second thing we give you is a nutrition plan. This is really important. We need to personalize your calorie and macronutrient targets so that we know what you're going to be eating and get those on track to get you burning fat. This is a really, really key thing. You don't have to follow our exact recipes and things. They are literally there to give you ideas, to make it fun. But if you don't have, if you want to like adjust your food, so like for me, for example, as a mum of 3 kids, I like to adjust what I'm eating, my macros, around what the family is eating. I don't want to cook separate meals. I want to make it easy and accessible. Then we show you how to do that as well. And we do this by showing you using the palm of your hand. So you're not going to be counting calories, because that's actually very difficult to do. So it's about looking and thinking, right, how much protein do I need? How many carbs? How much vegetables? And what proportion of fats do I need to get the results? This means that if you're eating out, if you're at work and you need to grab lunch on the go, you can actually use your hand to determine what you need to do. So we want to make this easy for you. We don't want to make it that you've got to especially prepare a whole bunch of meals, because actually that's very, very difficult to do. Sometimes it will be about eating more. Sometimes it will be. Not everyone eats less. As I say, if you've been overstressing your body, it may be that you do need to eat more. The other thing we do is we give you access to journals in one of the apps so that you can track everything you're doing. That's going to give you valuable insight. We give you week-on-week feedback. So we actually go in, and if you're tracking what you're eating, we go in and have a look, and we'll be saying, right, maybe tweak this, maybe change this bit. The reason for that is really important as part of any fat loss program, that we really do make sure your body is burning fat. And so to do that, we go in and actually have a look at what you're eating and give you feedback. You get in-app community support as part of that. So you've got a bunch of people that are doing the same thing as you, which can really help as well. And then, as I say, you get this weekly check-in and support. So if you've got any questions, you can come and ask us. There is live coaching as part of it, because that's going to really, really help you get those sustainable results as well. And this is someone actually who, Kate, she lost, this was on the 6-week challenge. She had about half a stone. That was all she needed to lose. However, it had been really sticking. She had this abdominal fat that wouldn't go away after having children. No matter what she tried, she couldn't get rid of it. For her, in 6 weeks, she lost that half a stone, flat tummy by the end of it, was absolutely thrilled with the results. So as I say, it's very, very effective. We've not had anyone do this program and follow what we've said and not lose weight. So it is literally 100% success rate. We haven't had anyone do it. So if you do everything that we're saying and you do the mindset work as well, then you are going to get results for sure. So everything you get is you get a 6-week fitness transformation, all delivered through an app with video instruction. You can film yourself doing it if you think that we need to check your posture, for example, and upload that. You get your metabolic flexibility nutrition plan, so you can see all the portions and things that you need to make it super easy. You get your weekly check-in and support. You get the food, mood and lifestyle journal. Lots of people love tracking in here. They put notes. If you've got any kind of intolerances and things, people find this a really good place to track. Also like energy levels, how you feel after what you're eating. It can be a really good place to do that as well. And then the other thing we're throwing in is some bonus sessions to really help you. So we talked a lot about sleep. I didn't have a chance to go into how you can get a good night's sleep on today's workshop, but we have a full hour's masterclass just all about sleep live with me to help you optimize your sleep, because it's so, so important and such an important part of metabolism. We have the live mindset coaching as well, because this is really important to you getting results as you've been learning. We have a live Q&A call as well, so you can come on and ask as many questions. These masterclasses will all be recorded and go into the membership site. So if you do miss them, all or part of them, you can go back and watch them. If, for example, you can't make one and you have a question, you can submit that in advance and then we will generally answer it. I'll answer it live on the masterclass so you can go back and watch it. So don't worry if you can't make the specific times. And it all kicks off on Monday. So as I say, you'll learn how to sleep like a boss. You can really boss your sleep, which is critical. So you'll get amazing energy levels as well. After that, we have the Upgrade Your Self-Image Masterclass. So we're really going to work on your mindset and give you things to do. And each week as part of the program, there will be little mini challenges that you're going to be working on so that by the end of the 6 weeks, you really have conquered your mind and body. And then, as I say, there's a live Q&A call as well, so you can ask questions. And then you get access to me, really just so we can help you. In fact, Denise is on here. I have your testimonial here, Denise. So, and also one here from AJ. So lots and lots of people that lose weight on these programs because we really want to make sure you get results, essentially. Like, it's so important to me. I can't tell you how important it is to me that you get results. And that's why I always incorporate the live coaching, because otherwise you're kind of left to do it yourself. And I think that can really impact your ability. You can see some other testimonials from people who've done Fearless. The mindset was a big shift for them. Losing inches, which you can see is amazing. And that's why I say to you, don't be too fixated on weight, because actually what you want is to get leaner and smaller so you look really good in your outfits. Sometimes the scales are not the key thing, because as you learned at the beginning of this, you could be losing weight but losing a lot of muscle tissue, and that's not what we want, because that won't be supporting metabolic flexibility. What we really want is for you to get smaller, leaner, and more toned effectively as part of the program. But the mindset part people absolutely love as part of this program. It's the key program I do that involves all the mindset training. And here are some other testimonials. Now, the other thing, here we have the 6-week fitness transformation. You're going to get your metabolic flexibility nutrition plan. You're going to get your weekly check-in and support. You're going to get the food, mood, and lifestyle journal. You're going to get the bonus 3 live coaching calls as part of it. And that is today on this offer. It starts Monday, just $497. If you want to do this, I will pop it in the chat. This is the link to go to. As I say, we will be closing it in the next couple of days because we're building everyone's programs. So you will get a questionnaire tomorrow, basically, so that we can understand exactly what your goals are, exactly where you are with your training, what you've been doing, how often you can work out, so we can really personalize this around you. So here we go. I, in fact, have a call to discuss everyone with James on Thursday. So you'll be getting a questionnaire tomorrow to go through everything. But this is the link if you want to sign up to it. The first 10 people that sign up are also going to get my fast fat loss morning routine, which will really, really accelerate your results. You're also going to get all the foods that burn fat and switch on your longevity genes as part of this. And you're going to get these daily hacks that I do that take less than 5 minutes and really upgrade your energy and turbocharge your results. So the first 10 people that go into this program. Nadia, is this in US dollars? Yes, it is in US dollars. It is, although depending on where people are, there is an opportunity to pay in pounds and dollars, I think, when you click that link. But it is in dollars. So as I say, this is everything you're going to get. 6-week fitness transformation, your metabolic flexibility nutrition plan. I'm going to take some questions in a minute, by the way, because I'm sure you've still got some questions. Weekly check-in and support. You're going to get your food, mood, and lifestyle journal, the 3 live coaching calls on top, the biohacks for lasting fat loss, and it's just $497 on the spring offer, and it kicks off Monday 11th. So that's this coming Monday. That is everything you're going to get. We have gamified it for fun. If you've been onto that link, what you'll see is we are doing, so at the end of it, someone is going to win this DNA test and my Live Younger blueprint. And the reason we've done that is really just to make it fun. So I find that having a little bit of competition is a good thing. You will be asked to track. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, how are we going to judge this? Because what if you've got less weight to lose than, say, someone else? We're not going to be basing this on the amount of weight you lose, okay? We're going to give you certain things that you need to track as part of the program, including things like taking photos, measuring, so that we can see the results. I do not share these. You can probably see from any testimonials I'll share that I do not share photos of people and the results they get, purely because I feel it's a very personal and private thing. This is just a metric for us to be able to track, and also to be able to track the results that you're getting. And then we take all that into account, how diligent you've been in terms of doing the little mini challenges and things, because you're going to score points every time you do those, how much you've upgraded your mindset, and then we will be picking a winner at the end. So you will be getting this prize if you win it. So it's going to be fun as well. And so there is everything. As I say, I'm going to take some questions now. But if you want to sign up, you just go to that shortened link, bit.ly/fearless fat loss transformation. And you can sign up there. You will then get the questionnaire tomorrow from us for us to get the information so we can begin building your plan. Sorry, I feel like I've really got hay fever here, making my nose itch. So I'm going to look through the chat and see if there's any questions. Let me have a look. Let me see any of the ones I didn't have. Sandra, you've been doing cold showers. Oh, you've been sea dipping in the winter. That's amazing. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Just getting back through. Hold on 1 second. Lost my mouse here. Here we go. If you can't make the calls live, they will all be recorded, as I say. So I have someone actually on one of my programs at the moment who has never been able to make a call live. And what she does is she submits all of the questions to me. And instead of me just answering them directly, what I do is I answer them on the video call, because she can then go into the membership site and actually watch them and watch them back. And she's found that really, really effective. So if you can't make the calls, for example, or you can only make part of them, it's not an issue. And I would always encourage you to submit questions for me and my team in advance, because that will allow us to answer them for you. You will also be getting feedback. Yes, so on this program, we go in and we feedback on what you're eating. So you don't need to track, insofar as we're not asking you to weigh things out. You can put as much information as you want, but we don't want to make it onerous on you. What we're saying is that you can even put photos up of what you're eating, for example, in the app, because you could download the app, you can scan, photograph it and just upload it, and we will give you feedback, because it's a really good way of us looking week on week at what you're eating and helping you as much as we can to get those really important results. And sometimes, as I say, you'll see from those testimonials, sometimes it is about people eating a little bit more than they have been, because we want to kickstart that metabolism. Sometimes it's just about really refining your macros, and even just putting in place the other pillars in terms of the mindset and the sleep can make dramatic differences. So we do ask you to track. You get bonus points for tracking. So in terms of you winning that prize as well, it's really, really good as well, because it's going to increase your chances if you do that as well. So the more you track, the more we can help you and feed back to you as well. Yeah, the prize we award at the end of the 6 weeks. So we basically do, the last call we will do is to pick the winner out, essentially, and award the prize. So it's quite fun. When does it start? Monday. We start on Monday the 11th. So that's why we are literally going to close it in the next couple of days, because we need to get everyone's plans ready for Monday. So it will run for 6 weeks from the 11th of April. I think I've answered all the questions, unless anyone has any more. I think I've got to the end of the questions. Let me see in the Q&A box. Hold on. So I'm looking at the chat. There we go. So, all right, that's better. I can see now in the Q&A. Hold on, let me look at this screen. If you have, there was a question about injury. If you have, Anna, if you have any injuries, then I would just suggest that you note it on the form, so we can adapt the training, the programming around you. So we can take account of that. And as I say, if you want us to look at posture, then you can do that. You can upload the video through the app. Thank you, Denise. Nice to see you on here. So I think that is the end of the questions. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat now. I'm then going to go and join my family for some dinner. But it will be fun. I can guarantee you it's going to be fun, and you will definitely come out of this sleeping better and feeling better. You'll be in a very different position by the end of May, for sure. And I'll definitely be sharing all my tips and tricks on sleep. I've actually been doing some new things on sleep recently, which is quite exciting. So anyways, right, I am going to make a move. I will send this recording to anyone afterwards, if you missed all or part of it. But I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you all for joining me. I know it's actually getting quite, I'm looking at it, it's an hour ahead in the UK. I know it's getting quite late. For those of you in America and Canada, it's a bit earlier. But thank you so much for coming on today and spending time. I hope you learned a lot. And for those of you that are joining me, I'm really, really excited to take you on this journey. I think it's going to be so much fun. And I can't wait to help you get results. So have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, Nadia. Thanks, everyone. Take care.